Hello again. Guess what day it is? It's Monday and I put this video off until now. So hopefully I can get it posted. I've been trying to do them by Monday at 3:33 because I just really like that number. But this week. This week has been a doozy. I feel like last week I thought I was in a struggle, but it's just like life keeps throwing me curveballs and things are happening that haven't happened to me ever or in years, and it's all kind of coming down at once. I'm sure there could be more. I'm sure it could be worse. But I feel like I keep thinking I'll be able to balance and get on top of things, and then something new happens. So I think I shared with you last time that a few weeks ago I got in a car accident, so I'm still sort of dealing with that. The good news with that is even though my car didn't really look drivable, it turned out that it was, and so it looks pretty gnarly, but it's driving, so that's great, and I'm gonna get it fixed in a few weeks. A lot of the mechanics around here are booked out, so that was kind of challenging. So that got figured out. There's also like a couple weeks of really terrible smoke here, which made it really hard to breathe, especially for me. I have a really sensitive respiratory system, so I was having like really bad asthma, which I haven't had in like a decade, and so there's a lot of like new challenges that are being thrown at me. And I know it's, my resilience is a little bit lower than normal because I'm also in grad school and it's my first quarter. So I'm really having a hard time balancing that and like adjusting to this huge transition because it's been like throughout all of COVID, I've been working from home, and then I wasn't working for about a year, at least not full time. So going from that to like being in full-time school and work and having to drive and commute and living far away. Wow, it's been a lot. So then this week, just a couple days ago, actually, my poor older dog, George, he's 10, almost 11. He just started acting really sick, and I don't want to go into the gory details, but I finally found him a vet appointment. I've been having a really hard time finding like services around here because it's a new neighborhood, it's a new area, and I find that like when you call with a dog emergency, for example, they often aren't taking new dogs, so they will really only see you if you're already seeing them. So I feel like this is like a common theme in my life with certain like adulting things that like if I don't do things preventatively, then I get stuck in these tricky positions. So like, for example, when my car was broken, having to find a new mechanic because I haven't found one yet. And now my dog is sick and now I have to find a vet. And, this has happened to me before with like dental stuff, for example. So I guess the adult, like responsible, boring me wants to just tell you all and give you advice and give myself advice that if you set these things up beforehand, it'll save you a huge headache when kind of an emergency happens. So that's something I'm learning, and I think I've actually decided I want to make a video on just my journey with this quote unquote term adulting and things like being responsible and having things kind of set up and having preventative measures and having savings, all of these things that we are taught that are important to do as adults. I feel like it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me, and I have a lot of like embarrassment and shame around that, but I'm just taking it one step at a time. So here I am making another video for you. Okay, but that isn't the topic I had in mind for today. Actually, a friend reached out and asked me if I could share about a specific topic that he wanted to know about, and I've actually been asked about this quite a bit by people, and so I thought I would just take this time to explain some things about my relationship. Something else that occurred in the last couple weeks is that I celebrated my 10-year anniversary with my boyfriend, Tanner. And it was amazing. We actually, I feel like with all of my stress and overwhelm, it was in the midst of all of the smoke and stuff with my car. And so we actually just kind of just stayed home and did a regular weekend. And we both like were off our phones and got to spend some quality time together. We went to the Korean spa. But it was a really relaxing, recuperating weekend for us. So I was really grateful that he was down for that. We're both not like that big on celebrating in any big way. But that said, we are planning to go on a trip to Maui during winter break. So I think we can just count that as our 10-year anniversary trip because that's sort of a big deal. I tried to get him to join me for today's video, but he was busy and he didn't really want to, but we'll see if I can like get him on here. I'd love to do like a Q&A with the two of us at some point if anyone wants that. But the topic that I wanted to talk about today that's kind of unique about our relationship is our take on independence. And a tangible thing that I want to bring up that's been really revolutionary for us is having our own bedrooms. I get asked a lot about this topic because people will come over and they'll see that we have 2 rooms and 2 beds. And that's how it's been for all the places we've lived in the last many years. And even when we didn't have 2 bedrooms, one of us would sleep in the living room. We've been together for 10 years. And for the first 6 years, we were living in this community house in Seattle for the first 6 years, and we shared a bedroom. And that worked pretty well for us. I mean, we definitely like have good similar living styles in terms of cleanliness and everything. So there's never really arguments about that so much as just actually sleeping. Our sleeping schedules are just super different. I'm kind of a night owl, even though I'm always trying to change that. But the truth is I sometimes stay up late, and if I can't fall asleep, the worst thing for me to do is just like sit in the dark with my eyes open and just stress. So sometimes I need to like turn on a light or read a book or stretch or do something to help take my mind off of sleep so I don't get so stressed out. And he is really good at sleep and passes out really early, but I don't think he really likes when I would move around and turn the light on. It keeps him up. So on the flip side, in the mornings, I sometimes, especially if I had a rough night's sleep, I like to sleep in. I've been known to sleep in until even like 10:30. And I think I've talked about this in a previous video. I have no shame about sleeping in. Like I let my body sleep when it needs to sleep. And there's a lot of times where I just have a hard time falling asleep. It's just a kind of a ongoing issue for me. So our sleep schedules are really different. The other thing that kind of shifted about 4 years ago when we decided to get our own rooms is I was noticing he would be like tossing and turning, and then every once in a while I would end up waking up in a headlock. And something about Tanner, if you don't know, is that he likes to train a lot of martial arts. So once he started training BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I feel like he was constantly working through his BJJ problems in his sleep. And so he doesn't know it's happening because he's asleep, but he would just have me, we would be cuddled, and then he would all of a sudden put me in a headlock, and it would be so scary for me. And then I would like wake up screaming, and he would wake up confused. And so this was actually happening like almost every night at some point. And not just that, but just like, I don't know, he would just move around and like kick and stuff. So he's a little crazy in his sleep, and I'm such a light sleeper. And then once I get woken up, I like can't fall back asleep. So we were having a lot of trouble around sleep. And so that is like the simple answer. I have a lot of people asking me why we have our own rooms, and the simplest answer is we sleep so much better in our own beds. When we first got our own rooms, there was a little bit of a transitionary period where we were like setting up our rooms. It was mostly he moved into his own room, and so I had my room set up and he was setting up his room, and so he would still sleep in my room most nights. And then slowly over time, and it didn't take that long, maybe over a couple months, we started sleeping every single night in different beds. So, and at first there was like, I had mixed feelings about this because I felt like I really liked, I like the idea of cuddling and waking up together. There's something really special about that. But the pros outweighed the cons of having separate beds because I was really sick of being woken up at night. And I really just loved the freedom of having my own room and being able to go in there and close the door and know it's my safe space. I can set up all my altars and have my yoga spot. I can do my schoolwork. I can do my Zoom calls. So there's a lot of benefits to having my own room and having a door and having it be just for me. And of course, he's allowed to come in and out. It's not like a strict boundary, but just knowing that he has his own space. And I think he really likes also having his own room with a door and shutting the door and all of that. So it's been really, it feels like an obvious choice and a win-win. But I notice when I tell people about this, it's like a range of emotions, whether it's like being triggered or feeling defensive, or maybe people feel like, oh, like you guys must not like each other, or like this must be the beginning of the end. Maybe people are worried that we have our own rooms, that it just means we don't like each other and that we're just together because stay together for the dogs kind of thing. But I will assure you that is definitely not what's happening. Other people will have reactions like, wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. Like, I want that. And a lot of times partners can't agree on that. So I definitely am not saying like this is like a one size fits all. I think some people really love and value that time of just being in each other's auras and sleeping together and waking up together. But for us, the good solution, the middle ground, has been every night we will still cuddle. So it's super rare that we skip a night of this, but we'll still cuddle for like at least a half hour, and we'll cuddle and we'll kind of like doze off a little bit together. And then whichever room we're in, which is usually mine, Tanner will leave and go back to his room. Or if I'm in his room, I will leave and go back to my room. So I think it's not that complicated. I feel like it's funny to even make a video about it because it just feels really obvious to me now. Like, I feel like I don't think I could ever go back. When we travel and we're staying in a place like a hotel or something, we obviously sleep in the same bed. And when we camp, it's funny because we were already doing this. We have like our own little sleeping pad. So we sleep near each other, but we have our own little space. So for us, it's just been like so health promoting, and it's been really good for our relationship too. I think when we decided to do it, we were in sort of a rough spot in our relationship. This was like 6 years in. And a lot of like these deeper, subtle resentments were bubbling up coming from both of us, which were just this feeling like, I remember Tanner saying, I feel like I'm in Micheala's world, you know? And I felt like that too. Like, I feel like when we're always in each other's space and always like, you know, maybe I have a certain way that I want the closet to be, or maybe he has a certain spot he wants the bed to be. It feels like you're always compromising and you're always, I don't know, like erring on the side of like letting the other person control the situation. And once you have your own space, it's like you never even thought about where you would want the bed or how you would want the closet. And so it's been so freeing, and it's been so helpful for my own self-love and my own relationship to myself to feel this like kind of strong boundaried independence. And then for those that know us know this, but we have that kind of trickles down into the rest of our relationship as well. I think that happened earlier on, but the first couple years we were like the typical twin flame, like probably codependent, like hanging out, almost like dressing the same. We had that for sure. We would go to like every festival and every party together. And then slowly after a few years, we started shifting. And it's kind of hard when relationships change. That can really feel like, you know, it's the beginning of the end. And I remember having some fear come up, like, oh no, like our lifestyles are changing, our interests are changing. I was feeling like I was blossoming and wanting to be more social, and he was feeling like he wanted to be more introverted. I remember the first time I went to a festival without him and how I was like, is this okay? Should I be worried? Should I be checking in? I don't know. It was just like this funny feeling of like being just on my own, and like I'm just a person. I'm just a person, an independent person, that I don't have like this attached like second limb kind of thing. And it felt amazing. I felt like I didn't have to like check in with him. Like, I feel like a lot of times when we would go to festivals or parties, he was the one that wanted to go to bed earlier, or like he wanted to, I don't know, leave before me. And we would always just compromise, and that's okay. And there's never anything wrong with that. But having that complete independence and complete freedom has been so good for me and my healing. Like, I feel like a lot of times it was him that initiated it, and maybe I resisted it at first. Like, no, it's okay, I'll do what you want. And then once we were in the situation where I was on my own, like I actually really realized the pleasure I got out of just completely following my own whims and not having to compromise. So anyway, it's been healing for me as someone who naturally would be more codependent. I probably would naturally be the one that would always err on the side of like fulfilling the other person's needs before my own, because I feel like when I'm in the presence of someone that has strong opinions, like where are we going to go eat, for example? If Tanner's like, I really want pizza, like I almost have a hard time, at least historically, feeling what I even want to eat. So of course I'll just go get pizza because he wants it, and I love pleasing him, you know? So it's been such a healthy thing for me to be forced to be on my own. And since those first couple years of starting to go to festivals on my own, now I've been to like every single festival and party, I pretty much am there on my own. And a lot of my friends like joke that I have like a phantom boyfriend, or that he's like, an imaginary boyfriend, kind of like an imaginary friend, because I have friends who I'm really close with who still have never even met him. And anyway, I love it because I feel like I don't get defined by my relationship. I get to be defined by who I am, my individual connections with people. And I think for him too, he really likes to be able to he goes to BJJ on his own, and he does a lot of his own social things that are just very different than mine. And so we have really different interests, but we come together and we share, and I feel like there's zero conflict. We definitely have conflict, but it's not about this independence, and it's not about this like wanting to do different things. I feel like most of our conflict is like just the basic, like, I've been doing the dishes more than you kind of stuff, but even that, it feels very smooth. So I feel like one of the main points that I would like to make about relationships is that it's not a one size fits all. Like, I'm not saying that this is for everyone. I think we're all put here on this earth, and we have all these complex experiences. We have our parents modeling relationships. We have our friends. We have social media now. So there's a lot of different types of relationships. And I guess my encouragement to you would be to design the relationship that really works for you and think outside the box. When Tanner and I first started dating, we were both exploring kind of open relationships and non-monogamy kind of thing. And that really taught us a lot about this independence and just like thinking outside the box and being open to all the different ways relationships can be. And I feel like we've just been constantly evolving and growing and checking in, and it's definitely not all easy like I maybe am making it sound. But in terms of the sleeping in our own rooms and having a lot of independence, and being able to just have like a desire, I want to go to this, like for example, now I think we practice, if we want different things for food, then we'll just get different things. And this even looks like this, again, this is probably not what most people want, but we don't really eat dinner together. We don't really like make meals together very much. We might make our own separate meals and then eat, and I'll share a little bit of what I made and he'll share a bit of what he made. But to me, it's like, it might sound extreme, but to me, it feels so freeing to just be able to make my own decisions for myself. Because like I said, I think my go-to response, or like the unhealed version of me, is going to be the codependent and the overgiving and the bending over backwards for my partner or for other people in general. And that is something I still struggle with in my everyday life. But having a partner who values independence so much has really helped me value independence, because I know that he's not going to come home and expect dinner to be on the table or something. Like, I don't think I could be in a relationship like that, at least not right now. Like, it feels like this part of my journey is really being supported by this independence and by these kind of like two separate pillars in relationship to each other, and giving each other the gift of freedom and the gift of independence. Now, I can't say enough how much this is not like a prescription, like a one size fits all. And I'm going into marriage and family therapy, so I want to make sure I don't communicate that this is the way to do it, or this is the best way to do it. I think it's just an interesting idea, and I hope it's just planting a seed to help you think about what are ways that you can make your relationship, what are creative ways you can make your relationship work for you, for your individual styles, for your individual needs, even thinking about your own attachment style and your own like tendencies. If you have a tendency to be more codependent, what are some ways that you can challenge yourself to be more independent and to be more independently interdependent? There's lots of different ways that this can look, and I have no judgment. Like, if you love cooking dinner together every night and sleeping in the same bed every night, like, I am so happy for you that you love that, and I totally understand that. And I think everyone just needs different things, and I think that's the hardest part about relationships in a way, is finding someone that is open to and is in desiring the same thing as you or similar things as you. And that's maybe where compatibility comes to mind. But also communication. I think just communicating your needs and using I statements and things like that is really helpful with navigating these kind of conversations. Another really important thing that I want to note is just the phenomenon of letting your relationship evolve, perhaps even letting it end and start again with the same person, knowing that certain habits can last for a few years or even a few decades, but might need to shift, and it might feel sort of like an identity crisis for the relationship. So for example, when we started out, we were a lot more codependent and two peas in a pod. Now we're going through this like extra long independence phase, which is feeling really good. But who knows, you could check in with me 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and we're having dinner together every night and sleeping in the same bed. So just knowing that like there's different seasons, and to be flexible, knowing that the change isn't necessarily bad. I think it can sometimes feel scary when things want to shift, and it can feel hard to adjust to a new way of being in relationship to someone. But if there's already enough issues happening and there seems to be a solution, I urge you to think about just different seasons of the relationship and how the relationship can evolve over time, and that if it changes to something, it doesn't need to be that way forever. I would love to hear below in the comments if you totally disagree with me, or if you agree with me, or if this is something you've been thinking about and you've been wondering if anyone else is doing this. I've been meeting more and more people who are doing this or open to doing this. I think it's a really healthy thing. It doesn't have to mean the end of your relationship. For some people it can. Like, I understand that for some people having separate rooms and sleeping in different rooms can bring up like a lot of trust issues, and it can feel very like you're growing apart. So in that case, maybe it's not for you, or maybe you can find other ways to feel connected. Like if it's legitimately affecting your sleep, like the way it was for us. I think for us, it was more important for us to protect our health and our sleep, and then find other ways to feel connected. As always, thank you for listening, and I'm glad I was able to get this out. I hope I covered everything. I feel like I'm missing something, but so stay tuned for more videos, and I hope to post another video next Monday. I'm actually going to be out of town, I'm just realizing. So we'll see. I will try my best. Thank you for sticking with me and for watching these videos. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all those things. If you like what you're hearing and if you want me to continue, it really encourages me to see people subscribing and liking and commenting. So thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing Monday, Halloween. Happy Halloween.